Thank you, Yorien. We've had some questions come in. We'll try to get to a couple of them. I'd like to, in the interest of time, from your perspective, Anirban, in terms of the bird's eye view that you have of the circular economy, and it would be wonderful to hear your thoughts.
All right. So let me get going. I must warn everybody who's on the platform today listening to us that after René, Rajiv, and Yorien, who have distilled and served the spirit of Reman very well, I have literally very little new to add. So I will put it in a new bottle and perhaps put a little flavoring. Let me begin by mentioning that as a consumer, I have bought 2 pre-owned certified vehicles and 1 pre-certified audio speaker. Out of these 3, 1 car and 1 speaker have worked brilliantly. The other car worked well, but the engine blew up on one occasion. Now, obviously, somebody had not remanufactured the product well and had probably done a little shortcut in the process. René explained very nicely how remanufacturing can be a part of the circular economy ecosystem. In India, the size of the circular economy ecosystem is expected to be somewhere between $500 billion to $1 trillion. René's number was somewhere in 600 billion. Depends entirely on which report you're reading. But like he said, you've got to take these numbers with a pinch of salt. Recognize that it is going to be a large ecosystem and that there are opportunities lying within that ecosystem. Now, here is one small idea of the opportunity that lies within that ecosystem. If there is 5% increase in resource circularity in only 5 waste streams. So 5% increase in resource circularity in 5 waste streams, we will end up creating more than 1 crore jobs. Investments of 10 lakh crores will be initiated, and more than 770 million metric tons of material will not show up at the landfill. These are very significant impacts, both from an economy as well as an environment perspective. And this does not even count the benefits that we will have in saving energy, saving water, reducing emissions, and all the innovation that it will create. So this is the ecosystem in which remanufacturing can play a part. Now, obviously, what is remanufacturing is a critical question at this stage of the industry, and every speaker has addressed it. So here is my 2 pice bit. So let's say you have a pressure cooker and you give it to your child who is setting up a new household to use. Your child starts using the pressure cooker. Simple case of reusing a product. Let's move on. Now you give your child your pressure cooker. While trying to use it, your child finds that the safety valve is not working. So he or she takes it to a repair center that changes the safety valve and the pressure cooker starts working very well. You now have an example of what repair means, not that you did not know earlier. Let's now say that your child, having used the old pressure cooker for a while, decides to buy a new pressure cooker, goes to the shop, returns the old pressure or gives the old pressure cooker in exchange and buys a new one. The shopkeeper takes the old pressure cooker and sends it to a manufacturing unit, which looks at that pressure cooker, realizes that that thing that sits on top of the pressure cooker, which is part of the safety system, is not working properly, so changes it. But doesn't stop at that. It finds out that the rubber gasket is a little worn out, so it replaces that, does a little bit of grinding and machining to make the whole pressure cooker appear as new. Maybe the coating was not proper anymore, so it reapplies a new coating and then gives this pressure cooker, which is almost as good as new, to a shopkeeper to sell. This is an example of remanufacturing where not only the part that was not working is replaced, but parts that were worn out were refreshed, shall we say, and you ended up with a product which was as good as new, and if it was remanufactured by the manufacturer, would probably carry a similar warranty to that of a new pressure cooker in itself. So if this is the difference between remanufacturing, repairing, and reuse, just 3 of René's 12 R's. If I start differentiating between all 12, we will not go home today. So just 3 to give you an idea of remanufacturing. What would the advantages be? Now we've talked about it at length, so I'll quickly go through them and stop on the ones that seem to be new. So cost of manufacturing, obviously lower, so you could get it at a lower price. In the case of remanufactured parts, there could be lower downtime for equipment, old equipment for which it's difficult to get parts, but you can always remanufacture the old one. There is a distinct upgrade possibility when you are remanufacturing a part. Suppose the part has over time evolved and the design has changed, you could actually get a part with the new design. So in remanufacturing, there is a upgrade possibility. Quality is assured, which is why you can get warranty from the manufacturer. And of course, there is a lot of advantage to the environment because you're not using virgin material. The amount of energy required to remanufacture the part is much less from an LCA perspective than it is to make the new part and so on. So these are all the advantages, 1 or 2 of which we talked about for the first time now. However, if these are all the advantages, why isn't remanufacturing becoming a big hit and a massive success? And why is it not scaling up much faster than it is so far? Well, you have heard in the previous presentation that there is an issue of reverse logistics. It's not easy. We are having the same conversation in the plastic area, in the area of conversation on plastics. We're trying to get back plastics for extended producer responsibility is proving to be a bottleneck. Similar thing exists in remanufacturing. There is also the question of what condition the part or the core comes back for remanufacturing. Depending on the condition on which it comes back, it may be suitable for remanufacturing and maybe it won't be suitable for remanufacturing. Given these 2 uncertainties, there is a lot of uncertainty on continuity of supply. So you can say that I'm going to make 1 million parts in a month when you're manufacturing a new part, but it is very difficult to say that I'm going to make, say, 10,000 units every month, because a lot of it depends on reverse logistics and the condition of the part, condition in which you get the part back for remanufacturing. And then there is also the issue of taxation. In India, what GST would you levy on a remanufactured part vis-a-vis a new part? If you keep in mind that the value addition when you're making a new part is much higher than the value addition that you do when you're remanufacturing a part, because a lot of the value exists on the core or the returned part, let's say, or the returned equipment or device that you are trying to improve. So there is also the issue of taxation. So all of these, reverse logistics, condition of the recovered part, continuity of supply, and taxation get in the way of creating a robust remanufacturing ecosystem. And maybe this is why, in so many years, we find a remanufacturing ecosystem in only about a half a dozen countries around the world, as Yorien explained to you so nicely. In fact, till recently, it was almost entirely United States and the European Union. And because of the issues that I mentioned to you, the industries which have lent themselves to remanufacturing, or where remanufacturing has actually prospered, is aerospace, heavy duty, outdoor, and auto parts. Mostly because there was an ecosystem in which it was possible to get hold of reverse logistics to, ensure that you get more of remanufacturable parts and so on. Yes, it has increased in scope now, reconditioned tires, IT equipment. Rajiv talked about printer cartridges in India, which are more refilled than remanufactured. For a long while, I've been in the IT industry discouraging people from buying refilled cartridges at that time. Now that I'm in circular economy, I have a different perspective. But of course, that cartridge needs to work well, it needs to print well, and as long as it does that, it should be acceptable and useful. Well, yes, one other issue that I want to mention before I close is that, every time we send our car for servicing or repairs, when it comes back, I don't know if your service unit does this to you. My car comes back with the parts, the old parts that have been replaced. It's an old practice now in India, and the practice exists so that you don't ask the question, did you really replace the part, or are you just charging me for it? So they send you back the old unused parts for which you have absolutely no use. So you just pick it up and put it into the dustbin. Now, since I belong to an automotive manufacturing organization, and now I'm in sustainability, I keep asking the question, is there nothing that we can do with these parts? Can't they be put to some useful use? The biggest blockade or the biggest bottleneck is the fear of malpractice. The fear that parts which are not perfectly suitable to be put back into a vehicle will be put into some packaging. For all you know, it will be put into packaging that looks very similar to that of the manufacturer himself, and then sold in the marketplace. In the automotive market, you would have seen the word genuine written on parts on many, many occasions, simply because there is the fear of non-genuine parts. And this is when remanufacturing has not even become a big thing. So there is always that fear of malpractice happening. And this is a conversation that we in Mahindra are having with our service department and our dealers to figure out, can we do resource efficiency without becoming prey to different forms of malpractice? Maybe we will find a way, and maybe, like Yorien said, we will be able to give a fillip to remanufacturing in India, beginning with auto parts, if nothing else. Thank you very much. You would have noticed that the wine is old, but I hope you like the flavor and the bottle. Thank you very much.
I want to quickly open it up to any comments from René or Yorien. And what I will do is I will follow up with some of the questions that are in the chat at a later time. So please do reach out to me and we'll do our best to have your questions answered offline. But I'd like to invite René and perhaps Yorien for any final reflections here before we sign off. And thank you, Anirban, for bringing it down to a level that takes us out of the technicalities and brings us into the realm of the real.
Yes, Rajiv, if I may just come in and maybe also reflect on Anirban, I think very valid perspectives. My sense is that probably there's more remanufacturing happening than we actually know. Because ultimately, if remanufacturing is bringing it back to as good as before, then we will see remanufacturing happening, and particularly in products which are on a service basis. So like copiers, printers, and other components, the drums, the transformers, the trucks which are heavy duty equipment, which is on a lease basis and so on. So I think that maybe we might be surprised that there are more solutions, and people are just doing it because it makes good business sense, and they want to maybe avoid a little bit of the perception that it's bad, but they just give a guarantee. So if as a consumer you get a guarantee, so why should you bother whether this has been used once or not at all before? So I think that is probably there. But I think you're perfectly right that the big challenge will be to get sufficient quantity of high quality parts back so that you can achieve some economies of scale in the remanufacturing. And that will be a challenge, but that is equally a challenge for recycling or for resource recovery, as you were saying, with plastics or with e-waste or other components which are there. But I think that we just, my take on this, and maybe that's a UNIDO take on this, that is, if we look at manufacturing, there is a twin to it, which is remanufacturing. And we should kind of start to look at it in connection, not necessarily say that remanufacturing is the solution for everything because we will fall flat, but see where are the niches that something can be developed, because what you're saying, the 5% is really a big chunk and really worth doing that. So that may be as a comment from my side, and thank you very much.
Yeah, I would like to add something as well. I understand that there are still a lot of questions and still a lot of processes that are not well organized in India yet. If we are looking at remanufacturing, like I said in my presentation at the end, there is a possibility to learn from each other. The core return in Europe and the United States is well established. There are even some companies who are implementing those processes in a company. Where India, I think, can learn from as well. Also having certificates for remanufacturers that the end users can see, okay, they are a professional remanufacturer, and the quality that they deliver is good. It can be something that must be established in India as well. I also believe that it's a good idea for a next webinar, which I believe will be on automotive, that we invite someone from Europe to maybe explain a bit more on these processes.
Thank you, Yorien. So I'm going to invite all our folks to save the date. We have a webinar tentatively slated for the 22nd of October, specifically looking at circularity in the Indian automotive industry. So we're in the planning stages right now, and this will be an opportunity to do a deeper dive. And also we are announcing the release of a publication today. It's a monograph or white paper titled "The Case to Advance Remanufacturing in India," and that is available on Recreate's website, where a version of the document will be available for download. So that's just kind of a snippet of what's available in terms of the document. I want to thank all of our speakers for joining us today, and I want to thank all of you for signing up and being part of this conversation. We look forward to more of these interactions going forward, and engaging more of the stakeholders as part of this discussion across the spectrum. Thank you again, everybody. René, Yorien, Anirban, thank you for joining us, for giving up your time so generously. See you next time.
See you. Thank you very much.